What we lately learned that all the trade that will take place between Egypt and Russia will will actually use the Egyptian pound and the ruble as the main currencies instead of the dollar. Now, how will that help the Egyptian pound? How will that help the ruble? And will it affect the value of the dollar as a currency in both countries?
Well, this is a very important point, because this is a big issue that we keep using the dollar, and we keep looking at the dollar, and we are suffering, both countries. Now, I think we have to put a plan, a goal, and a time limit. Now, tourism, we have almost 3.5 million tourism. How much we want to reach? We want to reach to 6 in that time limit. Okay, investors, and in the investing part, they are investing 70 million. We want to reach to 5 billion. So let's put a plan and a time limit, and the government work on this, and the private sector work on this. When we have a goal, we can reach it. But if we just sign papers, we keep just going back and forth, and we don't find something on the ground. So let's put goals on the different sectors and start. Okay, what they have and what we have. We have X and Y and Z, and they have a lot of things. We have to improve our factories. We have to put a nuclear plant. We have to put all this. We can pay it with our products, and also they're investing in these fields, gonna help us increase our export to them. By using the Egyptian dollar and the ruble. This is the actual exit for both countries to work and to increase these numbers, and now we can reach to these numbers easily if we put a goal and work on it.
So do you feel that this will actually affect the value of both currencies, or even if the cooperation and the trade between both countries are huge, it's not going to really affect the value of the currencies for both countries as a whole?
No, it's going to affect it, because you are using your currency to export with it.
Do you think it will affect the value of the American dollar in Egypt and in Russia?
I think it will. It will. And this is maybe going to be a start to eliminate this dollar, which is just destroying our lives every day.
And what would be the negative side effects? Because there was definitely a reason why everyone is using the dollar. Now they're eliminating the dollar and they're using the local currencies. Is there any sort of a negative side effect?
I don't think there is any negative side effect on our countries. The negative side effect is going to be on USA and US dollar. And maybe this is going to be start to get out of this dilemma.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, we're now also joined over the phone by Engineer Ibrahim Zain, the expert in renewable energy and energy saving, to shed more light on the renewable energy projects that will be held in cooperation between Egypt and Russia. Hello, Engineer Zain. Can you hear us?
Hello, sir. How are you?
I'm very well, sir. Now, in the latest visit by Russian President Vladimir Putin and President Sisi here in Egypt, now there will be a nuclear power plant built in Daba with the help and expertise of Russia as well. How important do you think that will be in Egypt?
You are talking about a very important point in the energy crisis in Egypt. Egypt faces up a very critical crisis in energy produced. The project of nuclear power station in Daba was under discussion for the last 25 years. No one has encouraged to take decision and say, let us do it. I think what I know for today, that the cooperation between Russia and Egypt to build a nuclear power station in Egypt, this is amazing. This is a great step to little bit adjust the picture or the present picture of energy crisis in Egypt.
Engineer Zain, now a lot of people are also talking about the disadvantages of actually having a nuclear power station located in Daba. Do you think that there are fears of actually having a nuclear station over there? Do you think that using the Russian technology and expertise, any sort of dangers would be eliminated?
No, there is no any relation between the solar energy projects and the nuclear power stations. The solar energy projects, which uses the PV or the photovoltaic array to generate electricity, we can consider that is a limited level or a limited output of energy required. We are talking about 50 mega for a big solar power plant. Like we have the technology now abroad to produce this kind of solar power plant. But there is no comparison. There is no comparison between the solar power plant and nuclear power station. And Russia are very, very developed country all over the world in this technology. If anyone expert study the types or the different types of nuclear power stations and what the technology in Europe, especially France and Germany, and in Asia, like Japan or China, and if you cross the Pacific and you will go to the United States, I believe deeply that the technology of Russia are progress by few steps ahead of the other technologies.
Engineer Ibrahim Zain, the expert in renewable energy and energy saving, thank you very much for joining us. Ladies and gentlemen, now let's go check out this report regarding the Egyptian-Russian relations being on the rise, and we'll be right back to continue our discussion and debate with our distinguished guests.
President Abdel Fattah el-Sisi welcomed Putin on arrival at Cairo's International Airport, where the two leaders held talks for half an hour. From the airport, they proceeded to the Cairo Opera House for a cultural evening. They held formal talks on Tuesday and signed several agreements, after which they held a joint news conference. They discussed efforts to combat terrorism, in addition to a number of regional and international issues of mutual interest, plus bilateral ties in all domains, especially military and economic ones. The two leaders paid special attention to ramping up bilateral trade and economic ties between the two countries. Commercial agreements topped their agenda, including a deal between a Russian news agency and Al-Ahram newspaper. Egyptian and Russian officials met in Cairo on the sidelines of Putin's visit to discuss the possibility of removing duties recently levied by Moscow on wheat exports. In a press interview ahead of his visit to Egypt, Putin said he was convinced that a multifaceted dialogue between Russia and Egypt would continue to deepen and expand for the benefit of the peoples of the two countries, for the sake of peace and stability in the Middle East and North Africa. Putin said the Daesh terrorist group poses a great threat to the global community, stressing that the developments in Syria and Iraq stem, among other things, from a heavy-handed and irresponsible interference from the outside into the affairs of the region, and unilateral use of force double standards, as well as differentiating between good and bad terrorists. The Russian leader asserted that his country advocates the consolidation of efforts taken by the international community to fight terrorism on the basis of international law and respect for the sovereignty and territorial integrity of all states. At their meeting last summer at Putin's summer residence in Sochi, the two discussed Russia supplying weapons to Egypt. Cairo also hosted the Russian defense and foreign ministers in November for discussions on an Egyptian arms purchase plan. A preliminary arms deal worth $3.5 billion was reached between both countries last September.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. Mr. Negm, now Russia is already facing its own dilemma with the Ukrainian crisis, with a lot of international pressure, a lot of US and European pressure. Do you feel that now Egypt being seen as a strong ally of Russia, do you think that European countries and the US administration will actually see Egypt in a different light, more of in a Russian light with the crises in Ukraine taking place?
Of course, Russia is seeing itself threatened by the West, by the United States, by other NATO members. The expansion of the NATO towards Russia is very dangerous, and they conceive this danger from there. So regaining Crimea was very important again for them. They want to expand because they are in front of Romania is a member of the NATO, Turkey is a member, Georgia has a lot important relations with the United States. So they are in front of a series of opponents, if not enemies. So for them to, and they need to secure their fleet in the Black Sea and then in the Mediterranean. The only exit for their fleets throughout Turkey, throughout the Straits of Turkey, and then the Middle East. You have to have a base in the Mediterranean, whether in Syria or in Egypt or other parts. So now the situation in Syria is threatened as well. So they need a partnership with some leader country in the Middle East, which is Egypt is the best case for them. We have stability, we have a strong army, we have all the relations with the Soviet Union and Russia. They know about our equipments, we know about their also equipments and technology. So they need us. They don't want to be strangulated by the United States and the West. And you can conceive this. They are heading to the east as well. They had a very important deal with the Chinese government, a Trans-Siberian gas pipeline from Siberia to China for more than 20 years, supplying China with natural gas. They are trying to diversify. India is the first importer of military equipment from Russia. They have a very stretched relationship as well. So they are looking east-wise. The relations with Europe have deteriorated a lot. So they need a base or a partner in the Middle East.
Yes, definitely.
Iran also, the situation is fragile there. So they don't want to be strangulated from everywhere or take by surprise or taken by surprise. United States is sending more troops to Ukraine